Okay.
Okay.
How are you?
Good morning. Of course, if I'm like, no, I have to be probably not professional, but I. Oh. Well, I got it. No, there was something, Bobby, when I looked on the website, there was no talk. Why recreate the thing? I was going through this one.
We call to order the EDC for Snoqualmie on June 15th at 8:03 a.m. So I don't have
Your agenda?
you can pull it up on the
Got it on
screen.
screen.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so call to order, we have Levy, Joelle, Rogers, Rob Watson.
Yeah, Councilor Watt's here. I think I saw Rob McDonald on Zoom. I think that's Louis.
Kelly's on her way, but do we have quorum, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Just FYI, everyone, this is Louis Washington on the 425 number, 425-821. I'm calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we'll just ask for public comment.
Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Would you like for me to start off?
Sure.
I'd like to introduce my son, Justin Watton, and Justin, because we're on speaker, I think the mic is live at the podium. And just want to introduce Justin, and he's got an upcoming project that kind of involves the EDC. So he's going to give you an update and we'll look for your input in coming months.
Hi there. So, as my dad said, I'm Justin. My project is to make a survey for the businesses in the Snoqualmie Valley area to see where the cities, primarily Snoqualmie and North Bend, can help them out the most. This means that I'd be working with both the cities and the Chamber of Commerce.
And when's the time frame?
The time frame would be between September and December.
Thank you, Justin. I look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Next, we need to approve the minutes for May.
Move to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
Okay. So then discussion item, Bobby. Oh, actually, you know what? That is last month's agenda.
Oh,
Jason, I was like, hybrid, we already discussed that.
oh,
Give Jason just a moment and he will,
This is what's in the packet on the website.
That's what's in the packet? Oh, that's fabulous.
No, I didn't mean, this is correct. It's, here's who is here.
Oh, those are the minutes,
Yeah,
but the agenda for today.
Oh, yeah, the agenda for today is further. I just scroll down so you, so people can see the minutes.
Oh.
Look at them while they're,
Gotcha.
but because you haven't voted on approval yet.
Yes, they did.
I heard a move in second.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear a vote on it. So.
Oh, you're right. It takes a village. So call for the vote.
Well, so from a parliamentary procedure standpoint, which you don't need here to, you have a motion and duly seconded. Now you can call for any discussion if anybody has corrections to the minutes. If you don't hear any, then you can just call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed, nay.
Okay, so do we have any comments on the minutes for May? Motion to approve?
All those in favor,
All those in favor?
say aye.
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 And then all those opposed, say nay.
Okay, all those
Well,
opposed say nay.
and you won't hear it. The other way you can do it is you can, and this works with commissions and some of the smaller committees, you can just approve the minutes without objection. Say, does anybody have any objection to approve the minutes? And if you don't hear anything, you can say great minutes are approved and move on.
Okay.
Which is a much less formal way to do it.
Okay.
Sorry, you got stuck like, and the, Cover one wasn't there, but we just had parliamentary procedures training last night, so the city council and the planning commission, so I have all these, it's all stuck in my head from 12 hours ago.
I appreciate it. That is a problem. Good. Okay, so next, well, how do you want to proceed with going over the mission and guidelines discussion?
I would say everyone should have had I'm looking at the screen, not you. Everyone should have the notes from the retreat. So if someone, no pressure, but if someone had done, a draft of one that they want to submit, meaning we could discuss here, like Bobby, I think you have one here, right?
Yeah, I just thought that was
Yeah, so
interesting. That was already in,
Bobby has a sample and maybe you read it and maybe you guys agree that's it.
and I can even later email this out for us to look at to see if it's what we want to commit to. But I found in one of our packets, it said develop economic development strategies that include an evaluation of the current strengths and weaknesses of Snoqualmie and its businesses, corresponding recommendations, and a work plan to meet the goals and objectives of economic development initiatives. So that was someplace in one of the packets, and I thought that pretty much sums up what we are wanting to do is just be the middleman and the the liaison between the businesses and the city to communicate of what we can help accomplish. Like I said, I'm reading it, I can send it out and everybody can look at it if they like. And then also I looked on the introduction of the big packet that Nicole gave us. And then just in the introduction, there's some really good verbiage in there from the past, like value should always be considered, and maybe this is the secondary layering when we would have other mission, not the mission statement, but the actual work items, but it's opportunity for business growth, added jobs, increased city revenue, along with the quality of life assets, such as a healthy and attractive environment, sense of safety and local cultural amenities. So that would tie in what Kelly's working on as far as tourism and things, and then some of the other council members' initiatives with safety and financial strength. So that's interesting. The other thing, just part of the retreat discussion and visitation. Ryan was the one that pointed out the retail recommendations from 2006. That's on page 3 of the packet. And there's just some things that would be nice to see that we used to have, actually, the market fresh goods and ongoing markets, specialty gourmet, ethnic foods. Carousel has some of this, but the kitchen accents and utensils, but also I thought was interesting that we are lacking except for Mount Si Golf Course, is restaurants that serve breakfast. Just something simple like that. I mean, you have infusion on the weekends, but, even some places being open on Mondays and Tuesdays, we don't have that. I know it was, I think it was 3.
You know, no, okay, sorry.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, a lot of it we actually have, which is great. And I know like the boutique I think it's supposed to be upscale, not upstairs hotel. But Ryan's obviously working on that, but so that'll be coming, sporting goods. I think that could be another one to just. North Bend's doing a good job at that, but I think that would be a great one. To kind of get in Snoqualmie also to be going.
There is a new sporting in the North End coming in the outlet mall, so it's gonna be a really big, huge sporting goods.
Well, that's what they, like North Bend, I think does a good job of being that anchor, and same with the outdoor guides and stuff, obviously with Luke, but then to have it. Maybe come to Snoqualmie a little bit to be going north, let alone just going east. But
The mayor shared with me, Councilor Rotten, were you at the Snow King business visit? Were you there?
I was.
She shared with me that Snow King, has, an internal store of hockey equipment, and the mayor expressed a sporting goods desire, harkening back to the days when her girls needed things for sports and there really wasn't anything in town. And they had a very brief conversation, and I think he's like mulling it over, like maybe they expand their shop to include sporting equipment other than hockey. So those are kind of innovative ways to attack a need.
Yeah.
Well,
because the only place to go, literally for baseball is Dixon, isn't it? And now that we've got North Bend and / Snoqualmie, we've got their, like, not arena, but the fields out there that are robust, and now people are traveling in. That could be, even if they started small with just baseball equipment, there's a need for that. When people are, we forgot our gloves on the Pennington Federal Way to look at, and yeah.
So that shop is actually privately owned separately. It's a for-profit entity.
Okay.
He has maybe 3 other locations in the Tacoma area, and I did have a chance to speak with Eddie. It's Eddie Toy, he's the owner. I believe it's Elevate Sporting Goods.
No,
Or-
elevated,
Oh, I'm sorry.
isn't that the physical?
Maybe I got that confused. Anyway, it is a sporting goods shop in there, so.
that's interesting. That's an opportunity.
Yeah, and I just want to say that, when I did, our business retention expansion, to go in conversation with the bigger groups, our bigger companies up on the ridge, every single one of them said that the breakfast was a huge issue for their employees. So, something that might happen like immediately is maybe we can help them create, and Jason, this would be you helping having some food trucks that are breakfast that come up there for their employees. So I know there's 2, 4, so there's about 800 employees up there that are just dying for, something quick to grab for breakfast. And so it might be something that we can maybe help with some of those businesses up there until we can figure out a long-term thing. But there's no place left to put a kitchen right now, and it's so expensive to put in a kitchen. And we've got several people, restaurants that are looking at this area, but they have not found anything that is inexpensive for them. It's too expensive for them to put in what is it, the oil,
The oil water separator
Yep.
and the venting
Yep.
inside, which is actually maybe the biggest thing.
Yep.
So.
So we haven't figured that out yet. So when we figure that out, they're there. We just haven't figured out how to.
Kelly, hold your mic down.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And the thing with food trucks too, Kelly, if it's a business with private property, they can coordinate that on their own. Because it is a conversation that we hope to have with some, I don't know what the word, ordinances, things like that. It's on the list. It's just with some of the staffing challenges we're having, not a topic at this time, but if it was private property, then they could do that on their own
Yeah,
to help their employees.
I think they would want to move like, or be in some central district so everybody could come in. Just as what is from them. So they've had food trucks up there, but it's just something to think about.
Well, and then maybe there's an opportunity in talking with some of the existing businesses. I know it's tough right now with supply chain and inflation and things for restaurants, but maybe there's some businesses that currently don't serve breakfast. Maybe they could offer just a few quick, breakfast sandwich to go items or something like that, diversify their menu and give it a whirl. I don't know.
Well, I would say the sole relatively in position opportunity would be Spring Plaza next to the hotel, which for various reasons is still sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's on our list to try to move that along, but we'll see. We're definitely gonna push on that from the city's end.
There's 2 restaurants that would love to see that. They haven't been able to get anybody to talk to them.
How many spaces are in that, plaza potentially in square footage?
It's a relatively large building, and the original intent was to have the second floor be, that university space, which is more like an office kind of use. And the ground floor was going to be originally intended to be a coffee shop of some kind. I can't remember what the other half
Chinese restaurant.
was the Chinese, okay. So all of that is on hold, and the building is more or less vacant. It does have TCO for portions of the building, so they can and have been using it for most of its office space. So it's plenty big to accommodate a couple of retail or restaurant type uses, but the building's not finished on the inside, and so it would take some effort to get it ready for that, but it's not possible.
Is there any discussion of timeline, or is it just temporarily on hold?
Well, it's been temporarily on hold for quite a while, and so the building official and I are looking to push them to at least get the heavy construction, if you want to call it that, part of the project complete, get through other punch list items to get to the point where the building has full occupancy, at least for the shell, and then we can, at that point, work a bit more on, okay, now you got this shell in the building, how can you help get something in there? Understanding that the family that owns it has, originally had plans to have family businesses in there, that and how they shift, how they think about the space, because of everything that's happened in the last couple of years, is a conversation we need to have.
So Bobby, back to your mission statement.
Yeah.
I think the important gist is why you exist. And it's primarily to advise the council and the mayor on business development and ongoing business needs, something of that nature. And I see the other thing is this body in the past has been the lead advocate for SR 18 that ended up in the improvements here, is the body that helped start job fairs and engage the chamber in helping to host those. And it has worked on affordable housing as well. So making sure that you get those kind of bullet points is maybe, examples of the types of work that this body has done is part of your mission. You're kind of like the Imagineers. The council doesn't have the bandwidth, the time to try to figure out, the future for Snoqualmie. We pass agenda bills, we pass a budget, but we're not the creative type. And that's where the EDC comes in, is you help give inspiration to things that will help drive business.
Well, one thing, the retreat that we discussed with Mayor Ross was that we all felt that it needs to be respect, both ways, like the council coming to us saying, this is what we need help with, and then we go do what we do. So I'm agreeing with you, but there's been some disconnect, I think, in the last, not in a negative way, just what are the needs that you're seeing from the city council that we can then go do what our strengths are as an EDC, and then we were realizing we didn't know where to find a mission statement. And so in our discussion, it's almost twofold, like, let's come up with our mission, whether it's, I mean, I didn't create this, I found it, for our city, whether that's our mission statement or something like it. And then to do exactly what you said, here's our key things that we want to focus on, the affordable health, whatever they are, to support the commission.
And one other thing too, in the past, the EDC has come up with a list of priorities, 1 through 10. By the way, SR 18 was number 11 when I joined the EDC. And we moved it to the top of the list. Signage was more important than SR 18, and we kind of changed course. But you can see the results of what happened because of the EDC pushing that direction.
No, completely valid. That would be, I think, what we were discussing are, like you said, our bullet points, that this is what it is, but not necessarily in the mission statement itself. It's the secondary of, within this mission, these are our top 10 items and what that will look like. So Julie,
We need to figure out those top 10 items because there's several that I think we need to like address. So maybe that should be something we need to like all go and try and work on and then come back because there's quite a few of them that we haven't, just like he said, you know, SR 18 was bottom of it, and now there's other ones that are coming up pretty quickly. No.
but, so do we, whatever, do we want to go with the mission statement? Should I email some of the examples out and we just kind of scratch it up and then come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably best for this if, broadly speaking, you're sending things to Nicole or I. I'm just trying to avoid a potential serial meeting over email.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I send it to you guys.
Yeah, so if you have ideas, input, send it to Nicole and I, and we'll try to pull it together and hopefully come back the next meeting with an actual written out. Well, here's the mission statement. What do you think?
Okay.
So that you can kind of poke and prod at it more directly than, because this is a little more brainstorming, so it's really hard to,
I know it's hard
yeah.
this way. Okay, perfect. So I'll email just a couple versions to you two,
Right.
and then everybody can check it. I didn't write it, so no feelings hurt. Mark it all up. Okay. So what was the next?
Okay. Sorry, let me get that bigger so we can read it.
So business visitation question.
Yeah, I sent those. Did everybody get a copy? I think I sent those on Monday in an email to everybody. So Jason, if you don't have it, I can pull that up.
We pull that up really quick.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
And we might be able to interactively work together in this meeting right now to.
Nicole, actually, do you want to hold up just so that you can type in good?
Sure. Let me
Yeah.
get it here. Sorry. Email it. So it's a hybrid watching.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan and Rob are on Zoom there, and then Lewis is phoned in, so, you know, they can see screen share. I mean, nobody has a camera on right now, so there's nothing to see, but
Okay.
it's more, the idea behind the hybrid is just providing the opportunity, and we understand the interaction isn't great to an extent, but welcome to the new normal. We do, as you may or may not see, we do a little better for council. We use cameras to show council chambers, so that helps a little bit for the commission meetings. We're not really doing that because it requires additional IT staffing.
Jason, I'm not logged into the meeting right now, but I've got, if you pull it up on the screen, I can make the edits on my computer, but my edits won't show on the screen. Just to kind of keep things moving along here. Sorry, guys. We're a little clunky this morning. More coffee needed. And the mayor took this, I think she had found the questions from before and added a few of her own, and I would likely say she's probably been using this as her guide.
Yes.
Yeah, Councilor Watt has given me approval that yes, she's using this as her talking points when she meets with businesses. I think the first one seemed pretty standard. I can't imagine any of those seem are probably okay with you guys, would you say? Including the distance. So probably the first one would fit up for discussion would be where it begins, what aspects of Snoqualmie enticed you to bring your business here?
Well, maybe stepping back for a second,
Oh, okay.
you know, so there's the question about the average distance. I might be a little curious to know a little bit beyond that. They have people who are driving in, you know, more insane distances, like if somebody coming from Cleveland or something like that. Not that I
30
think that,
miles or more.
Like what's the
Yeah.
furthest or what's the furthest?
yeah, what's the first?
Furthest.
Or
commute
is
for one of your
or is there somebody who's doing a, like Kelly said, a 30 mile or more commute, whether it's Olympia or Cleveland or, you know, Marysville or something really out there.
Well, to your point, I know at Safeway, when they first opened, they had people coming from Federal Way and
Yeah.
Everett to come be checkers at Safeway. The other, I would also be curious, how many are full-time and how many are part-time?
Okay, so the number of part-time, number of full-time employees, okay.
And then like you said, the commute.
So they may not give you all those numbers, but just,
Yeah.
just because we're, as a government, a lot of them don't like to give.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of focusing more on the commute distance thing, because that's something that's a little generally more willing to share, because it's not really, it's not proprietary type information. It's just somebody doing this crazy drive every day or every other day or whatever it is. We do have other ways to get at employee numbers, at least on an industry-wide basis. And there are situations where people in the city can see some more granular information about subject to non-disclosure agreements from the state. So point being, we can get at some of that information to the extent it's just, we have to re-aggregate things to then share them publicly at all.
And just for sake of example, I know we have city employees, that we have one from Fife, we have one from Sumner, we have one from Lake Stevens. Couple from, one from Tacoma and pretty far south Tacoma. I live in Redmond, mine's a 40-mile round trip commute. But we as a city also have, and actually we do have employees from Clallam. I know we have a Parks Department employee in Clallam. We have at least one police officer in Clallam. So just for sake of example, even our employee staff, we've got some commutes in there.
And we know that from the census, 2/3 of our workforce comes from outside the valley. A small part, like me, commute within the city, within the two cities. But we've got a workforce almost 10,000, and that means 6,000 people are commuting in. And like you say, some of them very far. And I did speak with one of the business owners. They have about 75 employees. I asked him, how many of the employees live here? He said one.
Wow.
So, and that was up in the business park.
But Rob, I know I've asked this question before, but how does that equate to, let's say, like myself, a realtor that I'm based out of here, I live out here, but my office technically is this Aqua, do I would end up looking like a commuter, even though I don't leave? Not to diminish the numbers, but just
No.
jobs change where, you might be Microsoft, but you don't leave at all, you never commute.
Work from home, and that's more prevalent with COVID now, and how many of those are staying in that kind of position. And by the way, that's a good thing, because that means those dollars stay here. The problem in the past is people who commute, shop in one place, work in another, and live in a third area. And COVID is making that world a little bit smaller, and that's helping out. But more information that we can get from existing businesses will help us understand that better. And here's the other piece. If you look at the US Census, and they break it down by income, and I know that this one's going to be trickier, but it's by 3 tiers. The top tier is $3,333 a month. That equates to about $1,100 a month that they can spend on affordable housing. And, most people are earning more than that. And so there's some misses from the missing information, missing links from the US Census data and in other sources that we need to find out. And that's part of doing these visitations will help fill those gaps.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, I think that was a very good conversation, so I can add something to that maybe talks about any of your employees with 30-mile plus round trip commute.
Absolutely.
And then when you're out talking to these businesses, I think anecdotally, try to grab those city names. Similarly, I do the same thing when I'm surveying at events. Where am I getting people from? What cities, and that helps with my grant funding. Am I getting people from 50 miles outside the city? Where are they coming? Is it the I-5 corridor? Is it the 18 corridor? So it's all really good information. Then the next one would be, what aspects of Snoqualmie enticed you to bring your business here?
And I object to that so much. And I'll tell you why. Because the people that we are having such a turnover in a lot of the CEOs up there and a lot of the different companies, they have no idea on some of this, why it's enticing. That question is not the best to understand anything. There should be another way of asking that instead of that. Because again, they're changing anybody that they're talking to. And each year we should know that as a city, why that happened, why they had come here, and coming up there and asking that question to a CEO, not a good thing.
You might tweak it a bit, and rather than being enticing, what keeps you here?
That's exactly what I was gonna say, Rob,
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
because I think that's a pretty important thing, because what maybe brought somebody here years ago might have been the affordability, whereas that might not bring someone out here now.
And meeting these companies, you're going up and having this conversation with them. You're supposed to have a connection with them and talking to them. And so that to me is just like a foot in the stomach, almost like, we should know this. We don't want to come up and ask this stupid question. Like, it's not a stupid question, but I mean, it's just something that, why do we need to know that?
Well, and wouldn't that, to your point, almost be when a business is first coming?
Yes.
Getting their
Yes,
permits or whatever they. need to get.
absolutely,
The city level, that's a conversation. We're
absolutely.
so glad that you're here, bringing business here. What attracted you?
Yeah.
To the city of Snoqualmie?
Not one that's been up there for 15, 20 years. You don't ask that question. Because it's just not, okay. Sorry.
Okay, so we were wanting to modify what aspects enticed you, or how is the city supporting you to stay? Maybe something a little bit, or we have it almost like, I'm not good at coming up with the questions, but something to that aspect of
Ryan Steele.
yeah, Ryan, You can be in charge of that question.
I'll come back with that and get a better question, because I just from my experience and knowing a lot of these businesses, the CEOs and stuff, not something to ask.
Just the sensitivity
Yes,
aspect of that.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel personally the same as how business friendly, and I don't, is Snoqualmie, I don't know I don't know the better word, but that just seems a little, I know what they're trying to ask, but it seems a little
it is.
elementary school.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we're not here to be friends, we're here to be, at least the EDC side in the city, we're here to support the business.
Exactly.
And be welcoming, and so calling it business friendly, for lack of better words, I think should be rephrased, but the sentiment should be the same.
I think that if you merge those two together, then it will answer without leading them to say, oh yeah, this is a business friendly place. No, tell us why you want to stay here.
Exactly.
No, I agree. Can you describe the strengths of the city that impact your business? Kelly? So I think that, I mean, we need that question answered, like, what is the city, what is, and for us to, what's the EDC, how can we be strong to impact the business thing, not.
So again, majority of these businesses have been here for many, many, many years. And I think, instead of describe the strengths of the city that impact your business, I would ask, something more along the lines that says, you need to know what, not impacts, but what, the city does well for their business, or something that they need to. So you're asking the first one, and then you're gonna ask, another questions, concerns, but, a lot of these, you're gonna be having to ask these questions instead of them telling them the answer, so you've got to pull it out of them on some of this, or you're not gonna get any, this is a very simple, like, yes, no, or, something. They're not going to, tell you what we need. And what we need in that, the strengths of the city, we need to know what, for instance, the police, how well are the police, the security or whatever like that is, but not the strength. So, and I don't want to say police, but I want to say something that is, do you have something that?
Well, I mean, it sounds like we need to reword the question, is, what is the city doing well to support your business, or, and then
Yes.
the mayor needs to have some specific, things underneath to help prompt, like,
Yes.
Whether it's the police for safety, or can you get permits when you need
Yes.
them, or, do you feel like, your science allowance
Yes.
is helpful, things like that, it's some specific prompt to help tease that
Yes.
out.
Because they're not gonna answer, and we need that information.
Well, and I think like the last topic that we just had on the business friendly and the enticing, we can combine these, so it can, the strengths and obstacles, because if we go in with too many questions, it's gonna take too much of their time, and it's gonna be overwhelming, versus we do exactly what you said, okay, on these topics,
Yeah.
and also, do we need to add something in that you're not getting support, or that we are doing, or that the city's doing well, and put the strengths and weaknesses together, because that often flows, especially when we're visiting businesses we have relationships with. Like I am doing my first one tomorrow with Brandy, and so, that's just a conversation that can
Right,
flow.
right.
And I don't think to be,
Right.
I think there's two things, and I was involved in two of these outreach efforts in the past. And it's very good at getting anecdotal information. What it doesn't tell us is a lot of kind of statistical analysis. And I'm hoping that Justin can help fill that in when he does his survey out to the businesses. And we may capture some of that. But my point is this, is that it's almost like a priority. What are your, what are the concerns to your businesses and priorities? Because some of them, it might be theft, it might be transportation, it might be sidewalks, it could be the environment of, not having enough restaurants at the right place at the right time, not having hotel space. I mean, it could be a number of different things, but each business, they're gonna have a different set of priorities. And that's not really something that a conversation, this needs to be more of a conversation guide. And the other thing is trying to gather that information. Mark Hoffman spent a lot of time just trying to tabulate all this, and we need the information back as quickly as possible too. So I think just a couple things to keep in mind as you build this out. I wouldn't say that the way that we've done it in the past has been perfect. I think that there needs to be some tweaking, but exactly what Jason's saying, it's a conversation. Bob.
And do A, B, C, just because when you're in there having these conversations, I've been in some of them, and these were just being asked, just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And so I just think, like he said, prompting, there's just something we're not getting out of some of this stuff, and so, and I know for a fact that we're not.
Yeah, and, and I don't view this thing so much as we're not gonna get, if you will, hard data.
Right.
From this, because that's not
No,
what is really. I don't view this as what that's intent for. If we want to get hard data, we have other approaches to do that, Justin is gonna work on things like that. There's other survey instruments we can do. We can go start teasing through census or more American Community Survey data to an extent, so. Which is something we should consider is, we'll get all this anecdotal information that is going to help guide the EDC here as to what think we need to focus on, what we're going to advise the council we need to focus on there. But there is also the other element of, are there statistics, are there survey type questions we need to be asking to get additional information? So separate, it kind of has its own conversation off on the side that we should have later.
well, the one thing that we need from these surveys is and this is something that is very, very, very critical. Are they staying in the area? Are they going to be moving? If they cannot expand, are they going to be moving? Because that gives us the forefront of being able to help them stay here. And so the majority of the reasons why we do these is to make sure that they know that we're in there for them and we're there to help.
What about trying to incorporate in one of these questions, like how likely for those businesses that are on a lease, 5 years, 7 years, however many years, how likely are you to renew your lease? I know a lot of our smaller businesses, they have a lot of them are up for lease renewal, meeting one of them. I think that would be a good question to.
So that would go into like the next couple of questions, and that could be a specific bullet point to what your future business in Snoqualmie and likelihood of renewing your lease and what has that at.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when I first heard the question business friendly, I can't help but not look at it with the lens that I'm not a business owner. So I look at that person like, what is the city doing to support you? But I think business friendly could also be, and hearing you guys talk, that's maybe tax implications or what that, so there's that side of it. But when I hear business friendly, to me, that's a customer service.
Yes.
Like, so that,
Totally.
so then that's what I want to know is, do you know that how do you reach me? How can I connect you with the right people in the departments in the city if you're, or like Jason said, signage of permits. I know if we'd had this conversation 4, 5, 6 years ago, there's a couple of businesses that I know just from my experience with them, their number one thing would be signage on I-90. That's a common theme. That may not be somebody else's need. So I think that's what we're trying to get, because we can affect change at our level of trying to help you guys and be good customer service. I may not be able to get an ordinance passed through simply, with council, but what can I do in the meantime that can help you? So I think that is also a good question. And also, after doing these business visits, what are the common themes? And there could be different themes for the downtown businesses, and there will be different themes for the ridge businesses, but are these, outliers? Or is it a common theme to our community?
Well, maybe instead of business friendly, because I since you're wanting to get kind of customer service out of it, is how something to the effect of how do you feel the ease is to navigate through the city to get customer service or something to that effect of, to get to the correct department, or I don't want to use the word accessible, but try along that line.
I think you're on the right track. I think one of the things that you could ask is, in the past year, have you had any interactions with any of the city departments? And if so, what was it like?
What was the ease to navigate? I mean, I just had to do that with the Washington International, so I'm like, I have no clue who I'm supposed to reach out to, and the person said, oh, I'm the person, and that, or you can reach them, and just got it taken care of, which was great, because it's a huge organization. So kind of along that same line of, have you needed to get in touch with the city, and how did you feel navigating through that process or something?
Was the process easy? And did you get the answer you were looking for?
And this is good for us, like, we're currently going through it's a big website overhaul, you know, and how, and also coming out of COVID, what did we learn from that? How can we do better? How can we, you know, reach people? So that you're 1, 2, 3 clicks away from getting what you need to know, whether it's getting my phone number, calling me, or clicking on, oh, I need to renew my business license, click on this link here. So we don't want frustration. We want people to be able to know that it's not this huge city hall that no one can reach anybody, and you can't get anything accomplished.
The other thing that is in here that I haven't seen anything, our diversity and equity is not on this very. We need to know what we need to do better. And one of the things is that the difference, especially in the food businesses, 70% are ESL that are here in Snoqualmie. And I feel like we're not doing a good job on being able to help them with like language services. If they have a different language, how are we helping them? Because I worry about that every single day. And when Nicole and I walked up and down the boulevards and stuff to talk to when we were doing the grants, it was very prevalent that a lot of them did not have the capabilities of understanding what we were talking about. And so we literally had to go and make sure that both of us found different ways of contacting them and talking to them. And so part of this, to me, I feel like needs to be also the outreach and find out, are there services that we're lacking?
Those are going to be the most challenging conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the ones that need to be heard too.
Yes. And I would like for the community to see that we are doing that as well. Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, I mean, I support it 100%. We just have to be very careful in how and what we ask and get strategic. So it's I mean, it would be genuinely coming from a loving place with support, but we just have to be careful in perception. I just had a great conversation with a client of mine that well, it was just a great conversation on perception of where people are coming at to ask questions when it comes to diversity and work. So that's only my pause in thinking of how we would.
We just ask them, are there other language? I think we should ask them if there's other language support that needs to be done at this time.
Maybe some resources that we can bring to them.
Well, we don't have the resources, we have the ability to get them, but we just
Well,
need to
and then
know.
see what resources in general they're feeling that they might need, and they might not know what those exact things are, but they'll tell us, I'm not understanding the grants. Okay, well, we'll need to bring in. So. Great, just have to figure out what those questions look like.
Yeah.
To go back.
Kelly, on that thought, is there a way that we can utilize King County
Yes.
to help out?
That's what we did when we were doing the grants. We utilized King County, and they've got, since COVID's probably the best thing that ever happened to King County in a lot of ways. Because they did create all the different languages that have been so needed for a long time.
Well, King County focuses on unincorporated King County. They're also there as a support because we're all taxpayers.
Mhm. Yeah, but we have that, but I just feel like that needed to be on there somewhere. It's something that, I know from experiences that it was the most difficult thing in the world to try and get people to understand, what we were trying to help them. And there was some really bad, as in North Bend too, we had some major issues in North Bend on that as well. But I know that, like I said, a lot of our businesses are, ESL businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the long-term plans, the future of the business, incorporating the lease renewal and timeframe. So the next bullet point that Mayor Ross has is, do you have other divisions of the business not located in Snoqualmie? Under that, she has plans to move forward, move the division here. What would help you make that decision? Are there synergistic? What's that word?
Just 1 + 1 = 3.
Got it. Supplier that could relocate to Snoqualmie to make your company more productive and profitable. I don't know that you need the profitable. I mean, it's all relative if you can manage money or not to be profitable versus productive. Like the city can help you productive, but you can't manage your money. The city can't help you be profitable. That's just my
You know, I think
thought on that.
one of the things that would be helpful to know is how many of the businesses, which businesses depend on SR 18 for getting goods from the Port of Tacoma over here, and just so that we have kind of a general understanding. And it is a strength because we could expand the business park, and what would it look like, and what are some of the advantages we have over other communities that are already being used by existing businesses, and what is it that we need to make sure that we preserve going forward so that we don't disrupt that. I think that's what
So the other one, he was saying SR 18 and just.
Or maybe what a business might mention.
Ryan, say that again.
I was just thinking of what a business might see as a growth prevention.
growth
So
off.
what do they see? What's something that might be preventing them from expanding or growing in the Snoqualmie area?
Yeah.
Spot on.
Is that under the obstacles? Where are we putting that?
I mean, it's kind of related to the obstacles. It's also in some respects a separate question because it's not so much what is, something that it's not the city service, it's like, do we do utility billing well? I'm not trying to pick on utility billing, just as an example. But that question, this question is a little more broad, is what's holding you back? Is the interchange holding you back? Is,
Physical space, is it
Yeah.
what anything, I think it goes back to creating a discussion versus just answering a question.
And certainly we know some of the themes we're going to hear in that already, traffic, workforce, space, those are, we kind of know these things, but to hear it directly from the businesses to what exactly they're facing, I think can help us be a little more focused on what we're doing rather than thinking, obviously traffic's a problem. Yeah, obviously workforce housing is a problem,
I think a huge one is like for some of our smaller businesses, me included, is employee recruitment and retention is huge. We're not able to operate as many hours as we would like to do. So like, how do we identify how to get that or provide incentives so that we can recruit and retain employees in that area?
The other thing too that's not on here is something that we really need to know about is transportation. We're trying to work with Metro to get bus transportation from Auburn all the way up here. And we don't have that on here. And it's very important for us to know if that's gonna be one of our big top things for us to be working on. So I think that, we need to add that.
Could that be a bullet point underneath the distance of the commute? Because that would play into whether they're coming from Everett, you know.
Well, just, I mean, it's an immediate concern, right? Like I just went and got gas yesterday at Costco and it was over $5 for the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
And, I was a little surprised at that, but here, we do not have transportation options. There is no one for me to carpool with. There is no bus for me to take from Redmond. I have no choice but to get in my car.
There is transportation options for you.
But they're not.
Yes.
But, you know, we're not in a,
She doesn't know the greater public.
I think that's a really good point because you're blowing my mind right now because some of my career has been in much to not my love, but transportation and being aware of those options. And I feel that we are that isolated out here, you know, Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, they've got options when it comes to Metro and with Sound Transit coming. So we have to be able to provide that. And if gas isn't gonna get any better, we could see some of our employees saying, I'm sorry, I can't afford to fill my tank.
Exactly.
And that could be from a nice job at the school district down to, you know, someone who's working for Joelle.
Well, and I know the mayor had a meeting with Metro people last week. One thing that we've certainly identified for Metro already is that Metro does not have a north-south route from the I-90 corridor to Point South. The furthest east they do that is Cold Creek Parkway, way over in Bellevue, Newcastle. There's nothing beyond that. 900 doesn't have anything, Squahover doesn't have anything other than, well, actually Trailhead Direct's not going that way out there, so this is nothing. There's no way to get from South King County up to the N90 corridor. You have to drive.
Exactly.
It's a huge issue.
Even like when they're reporting the weather, it's like light ends at Bellevue and there's no Snoqualmie Pass. There's nothing in between.
Unless they want to highlight the weather that we have in North Bend or Snoqualmie, you know, then they'll be like, oh,
Snoqualmie's usually not even on there. If you go to North Bend, well, you know, so I think that's really valid to get that on there because you know, and I are both like, what are those options for now? You know, so
And even beyond that, though, the transportation options for Nicole are, you have two choices. You either take the bus out to Duval and then connect to Duval at SVT to get down here, or you go from Redmond, or you have to get into Redmond, all the way down through Bellevue, out to Issaquah, and then out to Issaquah, and then the 208 out here. So either way, you're doing these crazy roundabout ways to do it. So I'm not surprised you wouldn't know, because who's gonna do that? It takes 2 hours.
yeah.
And it's not,
So exactly, it takes hours, but on here though, we need to know also, there's a possibility for us to go after some more grants. And that is to have weekend service from the SVT and or expanded hours. And so if we had some more to back up on this, would be very beneficial.
And you know what SVT's challenge is right now?
Or
Drivers. I've talked with Amy and it's drivers. Oftentimes she's putting her staff and her dispatch staff in the vehicles to drive and she's operating as the sole person in the office.
so we all agree to put that.
Transportation.
Maybe with when we ask the question, again, put it under a bullet point, when we're asking the question, who's traveling 30 miles or however, whatever that number is further out, how are they getting to work?
Yeah.
And what are some needs that we can,
Transportation needs.
Well, there's another thing that harkens back to some of my past experience. There is a way that some of these larger employers, the school district, perhaps even the city, there are ways to connect with King County and Metro and Vanpool. Actually, the Vanpool parking lot is in Redmond near the Costco, and there is no joke, hundreds of vehicles sitting there waiting for people to do. Now, it's the classic conundrum. People would rather be in their cars. Like how high does gas have to get before someone says, I'm no longer doing this?
$7 a gallon.
I think so. Before someone gets into a vanpool or a carpool situation, but we might be, and maybe that's something we can do as a city. I don't know if it's gonna be because we're tapped, but some sort of coordination where here are some options. You don't have Metro, here's vanpool.
We need to make sure that that is asked so that we can put more voice behind it. The challenge with Metro in the past is they've gone off of existing routes, not looking even at the US Census data that shows where people are commuting from and to. And they've only gone off the existing routes, and then they've cut services on those that don't have enough ridership. And being able to address this SR18 thing is huge because they just simply haven't looked at it. And yet 2/3 of our workforce that's driving in, we can see is coming from the south end of the county where housing is more affordable.
And besides that, I don't know, especially right now, since we're going out and doing this right now. People need to know that the SR90 interchange is going to be changing here very shortly when they start construction. And I would really, really think it'd be a good idea to make sure all these businesses knew that. And so I don't know if we could put a little asterisk on there and say, did you know?
Get ready for 2 years of construction.
Yeah, well, more than that, it's gonna be 4 years because they're doing the next stage of the SR18. So
I've seen the interchange itself can be 2 years, and then you're right, but then there's gonna be a lot more.
Yeah.
Past that.
So I just want to make sure they know that because there's going to be, and that is another thing that the city may be able to help to direct the detours and stuff that might happen that goes down towards the casino and different things like that. Just some ideas that to help these businesses. And I don't know if that's something that I think we need to maybe just highlight.
Question on that. At this point, just now coming out of COVID, do we want to? They should know, but even if they don't know, do we want, when we're trying to be business friendly and supportive right now, do we want to pour salt in the wounds?
We have
It's
to.
gonna get worse.
No, we have to, because I feel like if some of these do not know what's about to happen on that, that could delay their, their people an hour to sometimes, depending on what's happening. And, I just think it's very important, to be transparent, to let people know, and that's part of us, just
Talking on.
Yeah.
So, question, because I genuinely don't know much about van pool. When you say they're sitting like at the cost of, how could the city and the EDC work on getting van pools here? Would they sit at the school parking lots? What?
we have van pools here. There are several different locations that people go to, and I think the casino might even be one that they use. But that's another thing, having the churches maybe be allowed. Well, there's only one church here, so.
But typically, I think there's one person that's designated the driver of the van pool, and they're the ones that drive it. It goes to their home and back every night. So they basically, that vehicle is checked out to them, and then they have the certain people that are signed up to ride in that van pool.
So then we would, as the EDC, our role would be to try to get the communication out, basically to get more drivers.
I think they could facilitate that. Yes.
Oh,
So I think there is an employer cost to having the van pools too. So Jason, you probably are more aware of.
I just
what
know
it
very
is.
little.
Yeah, so there's an employer cost first, because it's all subsidized in various ways. There's also the rider cost. One thing, and it'd be good to try to suss out in this is, is there enough or strong enough desire for the city to step in and start helping with ride matching? Because that's something that other communities do. I know Navigator Program Redmond does that. Or, helps the city and one Redmond work to help together say, because it's, the van pools are useful for not just your single business. It could be 3 businesses down here have workers coming from generally the same area over in Parkland, whatever. And, let's pick them all up and go. But you wouldn't necessarily know that because you're all separate businesses, and yeah, you chat a little bit, but not to that level. So that's something that is a potential, or the chamber. I mean, there's lots of ways that there's potential to help there, but we don't really know, is there enough critical mass
Right.
to it?
And we need to know that. Yeah.
That would be great when we're, again, like you said, the different which I just learned, that's in the, let's say 3 different businesses, they're not communicating, but yet they have 15 employees coming from.
Yeah, there could be 3 at the high school, and there could be 1 city employee and 1 restaurant worker, but they're all coming here, but they have no idea that maybe they live near each other. I actually followed a car home the other night from First Street to my neighborhood. And it was kind of getting scary. I'm like, you think I don't even know who it is. Certainly not gonna set up a van full. I like my car. I like driving you house to house. But it was fascinating to me. I was like, oh my God, we're neighbors. We're 2 streets away and we're doing the same drive. But no idea. But
And that's simple, like we were talking with
Yeah.
ladies, he doesn't necessarily have to take on these robust, all the topics be huge, but that could be a big difference if you're, minimum wage and coming into the city.
For
and
sure.
All of a sudden, we just put 3 or 4 businesses together and helped 5 or 6 people save money and get to work.
Yeah, so this is something that we can give to the city council. This is exactly.
So here's another piece to it too, with SR 18 and all the construction that will happen. It will be, what, five years of construction
Oh.
on SR 18. Your employees, if you're an employer and you've got people going over that route, they're gonna get frustrated. And they're going to second think whether they're going to want to work here. And that's an impact on the businesses. So if we can get on the front end with van pools and lessen the stress on 18,
Yes.
And
it
what is
may
it?
help.
I just forgot it. Roughly when is it starting the construction?
This fall.
Yeah, it was supposed to start this summer, but
Yeah,
it'll be fall because of all the costs and stuff that's happened, changes. But one of the things that, I would love to know too is, Microsoft, the casino and other places, they have the big buses that come back and forth. Currently, it's against the law to, invite other people onto those unless it's theirs personally. There was a legislative, law that did not pass a couple of years before COVID. And I feel like that might be something that we may need to ask our legislators to try again, because I feel like to collaborate with the bigger buses. Especially because, like I said before, there was no reason to everybody was against it, but I think for us, especially out here, it would make sense to maybe, advocate for that and see if there's some way that we can't, help with that, because I think it would make a big, huge impact.
Yeah, and one of the selling points to that, and if you look closely at the routes those buses follow, they very deliberately don't duplicate any fixed route transit service.
Yep.
Because that would get them in trouble.
Exactly.
So since that restriction effectively is already in place, they're not going to duplicate a metro route. A lot of the arguments, so what's the harm here? Seriously.
Yeah, I think we'd have more backing, and that's something that we could ask, Senator Mullet or Representative Callen or Representative Ramos to, maybe help with that again.
Yeah.
And that might be from the city council asking for that question. If we knew from these meetings that is definitely something that's needed. So I would love to be able to have that conversation later.
And before I forget that it's in my brain, I think why I asked the timeline is because if we really are going to try to advocate and go robust on however we can help with transportation, we have limited time to get ahead of this. And so maybe for next meeting, what we can do is our next homework is to go through our past business questions and target what 5 businesses each council member is going to go, or commissioner is going to go and target, so that we can come back with factual stuff in 2 months. And be able to go through some of these questions.
Yeah.
And meet with the businesses and just, if each one of us targets 5 businesses, that's it's doable within a month, and we can come back with some real concrete things to at least head on some transportation for a couple months.
Yeah, for sure. Is that okay with everybody on the phone? Nobody's listening.
Sounds good, yes.
Okay, great. And so I'll make note for Nicole to send those questions out again, so we can figure out what businesses we want to go after, not after, that sounds horrible, but to have the conversations with, once we have these modified questions that we'll finish today. So the next question is your current broadband supplier meeting your data needs?
That's terrible. It should just say, something about your broadband, not your supplier, because, is your broadband up to speed or something that's, not speed, but I know.
Or do you have trouble with connectivity?
There you go. Thank you.
So going back to that, how would that be something that we could support?
Then we could, help with some of the fiber optics and, get grants on that as well, if we knew that that's something that we need to go after.
Yes, there's that. There's also the aspect of where, there's the franchise agreement with Comcast, and that's something that hopefully comes within the council's purview to address. Do we need to renegotiate some things? Do we need to get some new things into the franchise agreement? And that gets to be a very complicated thing very quickly for various reasons.
We've heard about this years ago as a problem. We went out and asked that of, now 20-some businesses, 25 businesses, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. It does seem to be a problem on certain spots in like downtown.
Oh, yeah.
And Joel may have a better idea, Ryan may have a better idea.
It's definitely spotty.
Yeah, downtown is the issue. I don't think the Ridge is the issue because all that is
Well,
relatively
I
new.
think the Ridge has issues with COVID work from home stuff. Comcast has, to their credit, been going crazy,
Yeah.
running upgrades left, right, and center all over.
Especially at the beginning.
Yeah, it has slowed down a bit, but there are certainly some issues all over the city, and yes, downtown is a bigger issue than other areas.
I think it's one of those things that you get down to the last question and it's like, what else do we need to know? Because there's other issues I think that have bubbled up in our conversations in the past. And this has not been one of them, except I know there's problems downtown.
Yeah, we'll leave it down. We'll leave it in there because we have to.
Well, could that be a question that's up in, like, what are the obstacles of your business?
Could be.
I mean, the other thing I'll say is, because it is a thing right now and has been, even when Mark Hoffman was here, is 5G cell service.
Oh, yeah.
That is constantly swirling. I talk to people quite a bit actually about cell towers and stuff, which is always a sensitive issue. We've got codes on it. It's largely an administration thing to handle unless a council thing to handle, but getting some input on that might help the administration, the mayor and Nicole and I, as we think, how are we going to address?
Not in my backyard, do I want a cell tower?
Yeah, it's, do we push back hard on cell tower locations? Or do we say, well, we need this and we understand there are, things look a little unsightly and it's, people always have concerns, rightly so, about electromagnetic radiation and stuff like that. But if it's that critical, we can work with that to make it happen more.
Yeah. Agree. So maybe it shouldn't say broadband. It should say,
I'll put up and the connectivity, I'll put it up in maybe the obstacles that impact your business, and then maybe when people are talking to downtown businesses, know it might be more of one. Two questions. One, these last two questions, we can figure out, I'd like us to talk about it, but I just had a thought. Maybe it's because I'm married to a teacher, but do you want to ask the question, what's our grade? Like if you were to grade the city, or
I think that would be a good idea. I mean, but that's up to you guys.
I don't know, it's just a different way of looking at something. I don't, Rob's face, he's mulling it over.
I would say no.
Okay.
And why I'm
Totally
saying
fine
no,
with that.
I forget what it was, but there was something that Mark put on that surveyed businesses that broke us out into different chat rooms.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Of course, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And there
With our
was,
mission state, or no.
and I was in the bucket, I think you were in it too, with obstacles. And so we got all the negative feedback. And there was some really grumpy people that have big opinions, and don't show up for anything. And we're very upset that other people didn't show up and they were going to retreat that they didn't show. It's like, well, you know, the meetings are public, you know they're going on. And so I think we could get a lot more benefit and get the vibe with based on the good questions that we have here versus someone who just to see.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't.
Yeah, goofy, no worries, drop it off.
I mean, one thing, looking to these, especially the last question is, you know, an important part of public outreach is basically just sitting there and listening sometimes, even if they're gonna be negative. Sometimes they just want to feel heard.
Yes.
And that's all it
Totally
takes,
agree.
you know, and they'll get it out there and that's the end of it. They feel better.
Mhm.
So it is important to have that and not take it too far, you know, recognizing people like the band, people like there can have frustrations and it's okay.
So for the last two questions, how would you guys, I think those can be blended into one, but how would you want to just say that? Or anything else we should know? And something just like that, or?
Very open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Nicole, because, I mean, both of those last two questions, we've really mulled over and addressed it in a bunch of different ways on the past, so, you know, just an open-ended. Any other feedback, any, you know, any recommendations you can take back?
No,
Yeah,
but we haven't covered.
Yes.
that's a
That's
great
it.
way to think.
That was a good exercise. Okay, hold on, I do want to, let me just type that, I want to go back and make sure, is there anything we need to know, right?
Would you recommend?
Okay, I'll wordsmith that.
Yes.
And then I have it. Under the pressure, thank goodness I'm not being filmed doing this. That's the worst. Just recorded, my goofy face, my goofy point. Okie dokie. So we'll start off with company name of position, history of business, ask about number of employees. A general question, is your staff comprised of full-time or part-time? Do you know the number of employees that live in Snoqualmie? Do you have any employees with a 30+ mile round trip commute? Is that the question versus, do you know the average distance you're employed? That would be kind of hard to say what's the average distance.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for long.
Do you want to know round trip 30-minute or 30 minutes each way?
Or a mile. I did
I
30
mean,
mile
30
30
mile.
mile round trip, Ryan. Does that sound good to you?
Well, that's only, if it's round trip,
That's only 15 miles.
Okay, so
30.
one way, 30 mile plus.
Yeah.
one way.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's, yeah.
And maybe put in there roughly, because the commute to Maple Valley and back is not necessarily 30 miles, but it's.
well, in the traffic, it might not be miles, it's time suck.
Yeah,
You're sitting in traffic. That sounds so professional, time suck. And then, Jason can't take me anywhere. And then,
What if we change it from a mile to a minute? Because then that would deal with traffic as well.
so say that again,
And-
Ryan?
Well, if,
The half hour time. Distance.
right, if they commute longer than a, half hour each way.
Oh, that's gonna hit almost anybody who uses 18, but
I know that, I
Yeah.
mean, I get what you're saying, Ryan, but that's tough because you could just be stuck trying to exit someplace.
In this same question, is this where we want to put something about about transportation? Whether that, is transportation a big concern for you and your employees or,
well, I think it's more what transportation concerns do you have?
Yes.
Or,
okay, let me type that. Okay,
Third one needs.
yeah,
Yeah.
so really this is gonna become a specific transportation question,
Mhm.
kind of at the beginning of the survey, what?
Because again, the transportation plays into so many things, including costs and
Mhm.
who can afford to get here and.
And I would not expect anybody in these meetings to become overnight a van pool expert. But is it something that you want to float out there and say, are you aware of such a program? Would you like more information? Would you like to have a conversation? Yeah, what do you think, Rob?
Maybe the cost, maybe they do know about the van pool and they've looked at it and the cost is prohibitive or they just can't justify.
Mhm.
Well, back to what Kelly was saying. if 60%, 70%, whatever it is ESL, they might not know. And when they're unfortunately coming to serve us as a dishwasher or server, that we know a lot are coming from Maple Valley, they genuinely might be into that, but have absolutely no, I mean, we really don't even know what's going on here in these conversations.
Well, and like Jason's hearkening me back to 5 years ago when I sat next to the person that did this program at Redmond, and it is a definite collaborative partnership between, let's say, the city or the county and an employer. Because the employer has to do their job effectively to communicate to their staff, here's this option, or it's okay to talk to this matching service at the chamber. You know, it's just not, it's an investment of time and energy between the entities to try to get those people in those vans together. So it's a bigger conversation, but one that could potentially help some people. Okay. Then the question that Kelly didn't care for was the aspects that entice your business. So the question is, and I just wrote, what keeps you here? Or what,
Ryan, you've got some
you're
ideas.
doing great this morning, Ryan. So what?
I don't know about that, but like the reason I thought about this is in 2014. So my business, I'd never intended to stay in Snoqualmie. To be completely honest, we came out here because a friend of mine owned a building that was affordable. I didn't know if I was going to be able to sell wine or not, but we went and met with, I can't remember her name. I think it was prior to Mark arriving, and just, what was that?
Nancy Tucker.
Yes. And just asked like, where's the city going? You know, what's going to happen here? Why should I keep my business here? And that's when I first saw the plans for the Riverwalk. And I was like, oh, okay, the city's actually going to do something. You know, they're going to try to improve downtown. They're going to, so that's what kept me here. And so that's kind of where I stemmed from with that thought is, what keeps you here? Because to be honest, as a small business, like I didn't really know what was going on with the city of Snoqualmie and what plans were. And, I wasn't hunting around for information. I just asked for a meeting with the city. And the question was, why should I stay?
What about you, Joelle? You were very deliberate in picking your business here.
I guess why I chose Snoqualmie was for an opportunity for year-round business and tourism, which I didn't have in previous locations in a mall and a strip mall, where it was more seasonal in nature. I wanted the opportunity to expand on year-round business opportunity and tourism, which was where I was kind of changing gears towards. So far, it's been pretty good.
So I'm hearing the answer from both of you, but what's the question to get the business owner to tell us that? So you both have said it's vision, there's plans. I like this train that the city's on, pun intended, the year-round business, but how do we ask that question?
What are the benefits of having your business here in Snoqualmie?
Good. Very good, Rob.
Very professional too.
Had to pull that out of you, but I got you.
That's it, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah.
Rob's out.
Round out. Okay. Then the next one was kind of the business friendly question, and Bobby said, let's work on this one. So the question is, why do you want to stay or keep your business here? And that I thought I had put notes like that's like the tax implications, or I don't know if you're a model train store, you want to be in Snoqualmie because there's a train, but it's like how do you guys want to say that? Or are the taxes good here? Is it good for business here?
I like that in phrasing it, what keeps your business here? And they may just say, nothing keeps it here. Or it's like, I wouldn't think of going anywhere else, and it's kind of those temperature checks, I guess, without saying,
Well,
planning on moving.
Right. Because you might also get that, well, we're actually looking at moving. Well, why are you?
Okay. So it's an open-ended question that's hopefully gonna spark a conversation. Then the next one was, strength, basically the strength, and we went at it a couple of different ways. We were saying strengths, we were saying, what does the city do well to support your business? We could have that be the question. There could be examples, which then might spur them to think of some things like police, signage, permits, customer service, have past interactions with the city, how's our website? Do you want that to be the question? What does the city do well to support your business, and then provide those samples, with examples? Okay, you all agree? Okay.
In the past year,
Yep.
you had an interaction with one of the city departments or departments.
So I gotta tell you, as a city staff member in COVID, that kind of concerns me as a question, because I feel like the last 2 years, in some ways, I want to be graded on that for the work that we did. We pulled our boots up, and we got in the mud and we did it. And then there's other ways I'm like, oh yeah, we could have done so much better. So I'm not afraid of criticism, and I'm certainly like praise, but I just feel like the last 2 years doesn't necessarily represent what we can, should, and need to be to our business community. I don't know, Kelly, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that we need that question though. We need
Okay.
to find out what's happening.
Okay,
Well, I think especially as we come out of COVID and we've had a lot of changes in the city staff, some people aren't here, we're all getting some new people in, but we're also, as part of that, we are also thinking about how do we approach the public facing aspects of, of City Hall and services we provide, because how we've done it for however long we've done it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to approach it. And the new administration, the staff turnover does give us an opportunity to think, how should we be doing it, or how might we be doing it that could work better?
I feel like that's a question in and of itself then.
Yeah.
It's not part of the strength. I do think it's a good question, because you're right. We have reset the clock, and there's so much, we're starting fresh in a lot of
We
ways.
don't know if there's something else that's about to come out, like monkeypox. or
Bite your
something.
tongue. How dare you say that?
I will say on the flip side though, you might also get a lot of positive praises, because like we were talking about a couple other businesses, the way that the city hall and you guys as a staff have pivoted and taken on 10 different hats that you were not hired to do for many reasons, like you right now, Nicole, you will also get some praises too.
I don't think it's all about me, Nicole, and I
Oh,
don't want
no,
you to think I'm afraid that the city is gonna get hammered.
No, I'm saying,
Yes, Nicole, it is all about you. That's why.
I'm always told it's not all about me. I'm the mantra that I'm trying to have to remember.
it's just one thing that I'm trying through everything we've gone through in the last couple of years on all aspects is, yeah, we've all been sucker punched in our relative businesses and lives and everything, but there's also this really cool stuff that's come out.
There's a lot of things that have made it,
Including having like this meeting, not that, I mean, I like us all being in person, but we can do a hybrid meeting, we'll still all be in person, and there has been some other big compassions that have come out.
there have been some silver linings to COVID, yeah.
I mean, especially with my job, I try to be like, in the last week and a half, you're like, okay, here's the positives. There are some pretty heavy stats, but there's a lot of really good positives.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll put the
All about
question,
you.
all about me, it's all about me. So I'll put in the question, in the past year, have you had interactions with city staff? It's kind of an open-ended question, but I think that might be very telling. And then the next question, we can go into describe the strengths of the city that impact your, or no, what does the city do well to support your business? And then give some of those examples. And then, also, the question was, are there any city obstacles that impact your business, or what is preventing your business from growing? So how do you guys want to say that? What is preventing your business from going, or what's holding you back, or how do you guys want to phrase that? And that was physical space, traffic, connectivity, workforce, employee recruitment and retention.
It probably should say, if you are expanding or growing, what would hold you back? Not like going in expecting that they're not growing, because some, a lot of them aren't, they can't.
Well, to me, growing is not only like physical space, but how do you increase your customer base? How do we pull a lot of these Ridge residents that don't come downtown to shop, or how do we help get Center Boulevard businesses, the people that go to Issaquah? So there's growing in physical space, and there's growing in building your clientele.
So growing. I don't know. Think about that when your words.
Okay, I'll. Ryan's not chiming in here. Then some of these I kind of, I don't know where we went with it. So there was, what are your long-term plans for your business in Snoqualmie? Do you have concerns about the future of your business in Snoqualmie? Those might be lumped into the, what we just talked about before, is what's preventing your business from growing. Okay. For that.
I'll chime in. I agree.
Ryan, that was so cool.
I was waiting for Rob to wordsmith it for me.
There we go. There we go. Okay, then. Do you have other divisions of your business not located in Snoqualmie? We didn't really talk about that one.
Does your business operate outside the valley as well?
We have to have.
God, drop the mic again, right there.
How can I get my voice to articulate just like Rob did when I asked him today?
Does your business operate outside Snoqualmie?
Tape recorder.
Okay.
Like,
Or have other physical locations.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, someone like me, yes, but I'm not looking to relocate my Chelan location to Snoqualmie. So what do we want out of that as far as an answer?
But Ryan, that also could, go towards you grew out of Snoqualmie in a positive way to open up a secondary location and can go into
True.
a dialogue of how the city or whoever.
I guess I try to think of what's my follow-up to whatever their answer is. I'm not going to simply say yes or no. I'm going to, why, or, was that an expansion, or is that because you don't have enough space here? Because it's definitely a yes or no question. And I'm not okay with the yes or no answer on any of these.
Me too. I agree. Okay. Then the rest of it, we crossed off or embedded into other questions. And the last one, is there anything we need to know or any recommendations you have for us? So I will work with Jason to wordsmith this and probably present it to the mayor. She'll kind of get to do the final blessing on this, and the goal being that you will have this tomorrow at your business visit tomorrow.
Yeah, and just know that you now know like why we do this, like what some of the other purposes are, because we really need to get behind some of these initiatives. If it's something that our businesses want, we need to be behind it, like Metro, for instance.
So Bobby, do you have a list of businesses that are like, so that you can make sure you don't miss any important businesses? Does Nicole have that?
Well, that's what I want to kind of go through the past businesses, because some are here, some aren't, from a couple of years ago. And then maybe team up with Nicole and Kelly and see who also you two in particular think that, like, the big guys, so.
We can work on the list.
Yeah.
Because I've got tons of lists, and you can pull it from the tax reporting too.
Well, and I have started a list, kind of grouping it by categories, and I've had some conversations with the mayor about what things to add to that list. And I'm also trying to be a realist. It's not possible to get to every single business in this community, but I don't want people to feel that they've been slighted if they weren't spoken to. But the mayor's also interested in how can we get maybe like the B&O information, which may be kind of a beastly.
It may be changing.
Okay, so right now, just to keep the momentum going and not lose it, she's done a good job of targeting a few on her own, and now I'm trying to work with her, and there is a strategy. It's not just complete madness on my part of, like last week, she met with Snoqualmie Trading Company and Snoqualmie Ice Cream Shop. I thought 2 businesses, 1 meeting, new businesses, and it actually, what came out of it was some really good information about, are we a Main Street affiliation? It was really telling. But I definitely want to hear from you guys if you have a recommendation that you want.
I just want to make sure that we also, because our 2 of our largest employers, or 3, so we need the casino in this conversation, which I know, we also need the.
She wants space labs and I don't have a contact
Oh,
for that.
would you
I need that, but that
I'll
would
give
be
you
one of her specific requests.
Because of what we are, we need, the school system, the Snoqualmie schools, they are based in Snoqualmie. Even though they're entire valley, we still need this information from them as well. And we need this information from the hospital. And Sherry, is she on the phone?
Well, okay, so the mayor and Councilor Watton have spoken with, they've met with Snokame. I would say the Rowan Museum and the YMCA, those are ongoing conversations that we have. Technical Glass, a Legion, Mayor and Councilor Watton met with them. The mayor has also met with Petite, which is a business here in Snoqualmie. It's just kind of specialized. They do a lot of work for the city, but
They said they are no longer going, they are phasing out of Snoqualmie. They said,
I'm not aware of that.
yes.
PSC, the mayor met with them. We have an internal only meeting for various reasons, with Dirtfish, more to learn about the Rally School and different things. Tomorrow, the mayor, Bobby, and Councilmember Benson will be meeting with Pineapple Life. And, one of the ones that I need to start lining up right now, is, the Club of Snoqualmie Ridge.
Okay, please add, the school district and the hospital in there.
The hospital is on there, and that's a pretty easy one, I know, to schedule and important as an employer.
Yeah.
So, okay. And maybe the school district would be a good one to do during the summer, when things aren't, superintendents don't stop working in the summer, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when we, like I suggested, pick 4 or 5 for us to do next month, do you want us to send those to you? Because those would be people who we have relationships.
From what I can gather, this is a work in progress. What I need to get some clarity from the mayor is the business visits, I think, might always have the element of her involvement versus sending you guys off on your own. That's what I need to clarify with her.
So in the past, it hasn't been that way.
I understand that. So I just need some clarity from her on that. So it could be 2 endeavors, but right now, at least for the next month or 2, it's gonna do this format of me setting up different meetings and then involving council and EDC. But,
Is there a timeline for completion of the, like, what's the timeline to complete this?
do you think, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's also one of those things that could be discussed. But so far, the mayor's expressed preferences to, she wants to be with a lot of the businesses. It could very well turn into just an ongoing thing where it's just, there's just a continual cycle on this. That said, as we move into working on some of the bigger things that I mentioned, like the conference plan update, we're gonna need a bunch of information. We also want to be able to make progress on the things we're hearing. So, I think probably through the summer, we're gonna try to keep pushing this and get a lot of information and then try to really launch into. So what do we need to do and what's it gonna take to do it as we get into the fall?
Well, I hope I'm not overstepping my boundary and advice during that conversation, but the twofold of it, the mayor had his own questions and campaigns and ongoing conversations, which is obviously healthy, and that's what needs to happen. But in the EDC questionnaires, we went in by ourselves because they could, or, 2 of us,
They can be more
because
open.
they could be more open. And
Yeah.
so obviously, as an advocate for the city, Mayor Ross needs to continue to have those
Yeah.
relationships, but from where we're coming from with us being able to go in, that's where it's key, like I did Debbie and like people you have relationships with,
Mhm.
that they're comfortable talking. to.
Agreed.
And so that's why I jumped on going with Pineapple Life, because she's candid with me when we're just grabbing coffee, and so I think that could be huge with some of them. Now, I don't have a relationship with Safeway or, anything like that.
Yeah.
Somebody else might, or that's a more corporate conversation than our small businesses. Like I would.
Do you have a sense? Could you go with the mayor?
Yeah.
on some of these?
So in the past, when we've done this, we've done it over like a 2-month period. And then we'd extend it out an extra month because people still hadn't connected. And Mayor Larson would say, okay, we go through the list, and Mayor Larson said, hey, when you meet with that person, please include me. And then the mayor would come along and be part of that discussion. I think what's gonna slow us down is you have 7 commissioners that are going out and you can make 21 calls together. The mayor is not gonna be able to be at all 21 calls.
Right.
And it shouldn't stop you from scheduling because that's the other piece. It's gonna be really hard. I'm meeting with businesses now just so that I have a better understanding of what their needs are. And sometimes it takes 3, 4 different contacts. And I just sent one to Nicole that I've got to pick up the phone and call them again and say, hey, where's your schedule? So these are not easy to schedule, and I wouldn't preclude the mayor from attending. I think that's great that she can, but we're not going to get as much information that we need. And just like Bobby said, if you have a connection, that's great, because you're gonna get better information from that.
How about this? How about we spend the next month or so formulating the question, finalizing it? Jason, I can speak with the mayor and just get a little bit more clarity so we all know our marching orders. I think what we speak of here is a good direction to go. Just want to run that by her. And then in the meantime, and then at that time, you as an EDC, separate from the mayor, separate from the city council, can establish what that looks like for you guys. And then maybe we can work towards the list that you would target. Does that?
Yeah,
sound
I
good?
think that sounds great because my concern now is the SR 18 and hitting infusion, hitting the people that we know they have come over here that is going to impact them. And we need to actually get on some of those more specific businesses to see how we can help them in the fall and the next year and a half versus, not some downtown merchants, but it's only the 2 of them that run and they live in the valley. Like, that's not my concern to get them transportation support because they walk to work, versus.
Yeah, and Jason, I don't know if this is something that you can help coordinate, but if we could show some maps on how to get around when the night interchange is happening and just start getting that out there for detours.
Great call. And we could even bring those, for the ones that we're targeting that we know that they use SR 18, like the casino and stuff, we can bring a copy for them to. And that can help them educate us on what their needs are, because they might not even know what their needs are yet.
And we're gonna work with WashDOT more on some of those things as well, because WashDOT tends to like to do full court presses on it, but their timing can leave things to be desired at times, like this 405 closure in downtown Bellevue this coming weekend, when everybody had a week and a half notice.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but
Yeah, and I remember talking to WashDOT before COVID, and I know it costs more money for them to work at night and during the day, but there could be some things that we can actually talk to them about it during, the morning commute certain times, and then especially schools and different things like that. There's some plans in place that we could probably talk to them about.
not everybody knows, but this city has long restricted in-city construction projects from operating, dump trucks and things on the parkway during certain hours. It's just the thing we've done as conditions of permits, because we were trying not to impact peak commute times in school. So
And when is the parkway going to be redone? The resurfacing?
not till next year.
Okay,
Just because of timing issues with the money and WashDOT and everything, it's gonna push out that far.
okay.
But you are painting poles, so, and that's pretty exciting.
Yes, the Swenson and,
Putting in the things to get this world all jazzed up, right?
yeah, that'll be daytime work. We're really focused on looking at doing night work, but we're gonna do it during the daytime, so there will be some impacts from that. But again, we'll be looking to avoid the peak commuting hours and school times, especially with Timber Ridge right there, so. We'll get it done.
Okay, so I think with the questions, we're at a good spot in game plan. So for the sake of time to move on, and we'll go based on the agenda to Nicole for an update, or, and then Kelly, and then Jason. And
You need to jet for
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna go first.
That would be awesome. I'll give you a couple things that we're doing right now. So I would love for you guys to get your phones out and go to the App Store and put in Discover Snoqualmie Valley and see what pops up. And you guys that are on the phone, please do, I mean, yes, do that too, please,
unless you're driving.
unless you're driving.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no Wi-Fi?
Yeah, there's Wi-Fi, it's the COS under public,
Okay.
if you need to get on that.
So
What is it again? Discover?
Discover Snoqualmie Valley on either the Google Play or the Apple Store. So we have been working, we probably, I have an intern, Owen Smith, who has done majority of this work, and it has been amazing process on it. We're still not done because these were just the business that we had in our database. So we're still going to be adding more businesses as we progress. But this is our new app, and what we're using this as is a virtual information center. We're going to be putting all kinds of information all over the city, QR codes where people can just directly download it really quickly. There's some other additional things that we're going to be adding on here, and that is emergency services and transportation will also be added onto this as well. But the whole point of it was to make sure that if somebody's up at the falls and they see that they can, if they're hungry for something, for instance, if they want barbecue, or the buckshot honey comes up and they can go do that. So, and it also gives you a map, how far distance it is, the phone number, the website, anything else. As we go, again, we'll be adding more and more onto this. We'll have a link also to our new tourism website, which is also coming up very quickly. We started filming, we're doing majority of it, we're trying to put out there more videos than anything. So that's coming out, and we started filming yesterday. So really excited about that. I think it's going to be amazing.
Like you have to be a chamber member to be.
No, in other cities, yes, but because of Snoqualmie, the LTAC paid for the majority of this. No, you do not. In Snoqualmie, LTAC, yes. So that was part of this, is that it's public. And so it's just getting all that information correct, and making sure that people are aware of it. So anyway, that is exciting. That is something that has been long-term coming. We do not have an information center any longer, except for if you come to my office. But this is something that I think will hit a lot of different people. So we're excited about, there you go. Thank you, Jason. So again, this is 1.0. We're still not there. But we'll be adding things, and if you guys see things that you want to be added, different things, please let me know. Again, there's hiking, there's all kinds of stuff that are through there. We have all the city parks on there, and there's a couple things that are missing, but it's just really exciting that we finally got to launch it. And again, it was hours. Yes. Owen did it, yes.
I think it looks great. How do we get this information to our customers?
That's what we're working on. So we are starting on a campaign. That's the next phase. We just had to get it all ready to go. The next phase is we have the QR codes that are going to be posted everywhere. We have cleans that are coming that have the QR code on them. We have, we're still waiting for, yes, at the Salish and the falls to be able to have wooden signs that have it on it. And then we'll also have some other options. We're doing some, we put it into our guide that just got mailed out to 21,000 homes. We'll be also on that. So it'll just be a constant thing. We're also doing a lot of different social media blasts about it as well. So, and that'll be going far reach out. This year is going to be very interesting. This is kind of with the gas prices going up. We are really going to concentrate on people that are within a 3-hour radius. Instead, we've gone a little bit further in that in the past, but this time we're going to do the 3-hour radius because I feel like that's going to be a huge issue for us this year. And we've got some ideas that are gonna, continue with this, and a walk, like through downtown Snoqualmie is also gonna go on here eventually, to be able to do a historical walk or a ghost walk. So, that's happening. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And then other things, that are happening, on June the 22nd, we have, the Port of Seattle is coming here. And it's very important that anybody that can come, it's a listening session for them. It's at the casino, and it's 11 a.m. starts the networking part, and then the actual luncheon starts at 11:30. And it's probably one of the most important ones to be at, just because they've got a lot of things that are happening. They have this new program that I can't even remember the name of it. What is it called? It's the Navigator Program. Oh my gosh, my brain totally. The Navigator Program that is going to be helping business owners be able to get services very quickly. And for them to listen and to know what's happening up here is really critical. We have not had a lot of good luck with the Port of Seattle in a lot of these different areas, but now they're seeing that they're doing it as part of SBA did this Navigator Program, and they're coming up and doing it as well. So anybody and everybody, please come to that. It is at the casino again, and it's on my website, snowvalley.org, SNOVALLEY.org. We're doing the search for Sasquatch on August 6th. And this is our second ever, that's what we're calling it. Instead of second annual, we're calling it second ever. And
That kind of solves the conundrum.
It
We're all
does.
like, we missed 1 or 2 years. So
That's right.
I like that.
That's right.
I like that.
I got a grant to do that from the King County Festival. And the reason why it was so important when we did this the last time, it was so critical because we had people from all over that had no idea downtown Snoqualmie existed, had no idea that the falls had a museum, the hydroelectric museum. It's a great time for people to get out and have them on a scavenger hunt, and then also be able to kind of get recognized. We had 150 people come last year. We're hoping to have 250, 350 people this year, if not more. And it'll be a really good time on that. So that's that day. We are also creating the Snokame Ridge Block Party. And the reason why we're doing that is September 10th. We know that there are 900 new families, not necessarily like houses, but families that have moved to the Ridge over the past 2 years. And we need to re-engage these people to be able to shop local and to just let them know what's available in our area. So that is why we took this on, as it was not going to continue this year. And so we grabbed a hold of that and said, no, we're going to make that happen. So September 10th is the date. And if anybody wants to help be part of that, Nicole is being pushed into it as well. So anyway, there's a lot of other things that are happening as well, but this is our 2 main ones, and we'd love for you guys to come and help.
And don't forget, September 22nd.
Oh yeah, September 22nd, we're having this amazing housing, what do we call it?
Housing Summit.
Housing
Snoqualmie
Summit.
Valley Housing Summit, and we're
At the North End Theater.
So we've been at capacity. We've done 4 or 5 of these now. They've been at capacity in my room. So this will allow us to engage a lot more people. It's going to be from 1 to 4 and more to come, but we definitely want your input on that as well.
Okay, I gotta go. Bye.
Can I chime in? And this is a question for Nicole. I don't know if this is a EDC related or not, but this is my experience as a business owner in town. Do mayors still give keys to the city, so to speak?
Our current mayor has not done that. I know Mayor Larson has done that in the past. I would say it's not very common. It's kind of a special thing? What do you have in mind? Did you want to keep?
Well, no, I don't, I definitely don't want to keep, no, I just, I moved downtown in 2014. There was about a 50% vacancy, and I joined the chamber as a board member several years back. But I hope everybody can recognize what Kelly does and has done for this whole community. Like there isn't a person that I can think of who touches every business we have, who's involved more than she is, and has helped to kind of bring businesses and residents and everyone together in so many different ways. Like I look at the changes that have happened, in our community since I moved downtown in 2014, and it's night and day. And I used to think, when I was asked to join the chamber, I'm like, who cares? What does a chamber do? But she is somebody she is the bloodline of our business community, for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm very honored to get to work with her.
Mhm.
I'm very thankful that she's a part of this community and she chooses to stay here. So if I could ever throw a name.
We have a couple of ways that we can do that. One way is 11 months or 10 months away, which isn't good. And that would be at the volunteer event next year. She could be recognized, like, special recognition for volunteers, I think, for sure. The other thing we could do, I would want to kind of tie it into something. So it,
Yeah.
not that optics are bad, but just to tie it in, like, is there a chamber, Chamber of Commerce, month of the year, something like that. So maybe if we could do some digging, or if you want to look around for what are some opportunities, like a proclamation, like is it National Chamber Month or something like that. That would be my thought in the next 10 months, but otherwise I would say we can put it on the list. And I think that would be the good time to do that. Another time, that would probably be, I feel, the most appropriate time, not to put it off for so long, but to do it right.
Okay.
Have any thoughts or agree or disagree or?
Well, it's a great call out, right? Support it 100%. We can probably, like you said, talk through timing because she is volunteering and getting, she doesn't get paid for half the work that she does, but she's an employee too. So I don't know how that plays in. But like we know, even just doing lunches and quick pop buys and such, she's not getting paid for a lot of that. So it could be volunteer also, for sure.
For instance, Thursday evening, we were closing up and water was coming down on the east side of my building, inside my business. And my first call was to my landlord, he didn't pick up. My second call was to Kelly. She had a contractor there in 20 minutes after hours working to secure the fleet. So yeah, she's pretty amazing. I would support some type of recognition, 100%.
So again, for sake of time, I want to respect everybody's busy. And thank you for doing our 2 hours again. It was so productive to be a hybrid person and work through this stuff. Do you have anything you want to share, Jason, and also Nicole?
Nothing that's really time critical to share. The one thing I will say is the proposed development across the street here, the rails development, has been subject of some legal action. That legal action was dismissed in King County Superior Court last week. It's not finalized. It needs to happen sometime this week, but they're written everything. The appeals are still possible, so stay tuned, but based on that, the project looks like it will maybe be moving forward.
I'll just say that I'm just in the midst of trying to plan for summer and marketing. And last week at the retreat, I know it came up regarding communication of the city's website. And that was just impeccable timing because that was happening at the same time. It's needed to be done for a long time for whatever reason, but we've got the basic bare bones up there and we'll continue to make it more enhanced as time allows and as we move on. But that's just kind of the mode I'm in, is kind of Comeback 22 and community events and arts events and Red, White and Boom. if life has begun again.
Anything else?
We're adjourned.
Okay. So we're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
I'm gonna log on to a chamber meeting.